Good morning, friends. So today we are going to study about adolescence and puberty. Adolescence and puberty. So what exactly is adolescence? If we talk about adolescence, what is adolescence? So adolescence is nothing but it is transition from childhood to adulthood. Adolescence means transition from childhood to adulthood. Transition from childhood to adulthood. Now, when a child becomes a man or a girl become a woman, there are two changes, right? So there are changes in physical aspect. So there are physical aspects, right? So development of reproductive capacity, development of secondary sexual characters, right? So there are physical aspect to it, physical aspects, and then there are cognitive as well as psychological aspects. So changes in physical changes along with changes in cognition. बड़े हो जाते हैं, दूसरी तरह से सोचने लगते हैं हम लोग. बच्चों की सोचने का तरीका अलग होता है, राइट? सो चेंजेस इन कॉग्निशन एंड साइकोलॉजी. Sorry, this is psychology. So there are two aspects of this adolescence, the physical aspect and the changes in cognition and psychology. So if we talk about physical aspect, the physical aspect of the changes in physical situation of the body is known as puberty. So often we get confused between adolescence and puberty. So in puberty, only the physical aspect of transition from childhood to adulthood is included. Whereas when we talk about adolescence, so it is a duration, it is a time period during which a child becomes a man or a girl becomes a woman. So transition from childhood to adulthood, the entire process is included under adolescence, and the physical aspects, only the physical aspects are included under puberty. So if we talk about periods of adolescence, so adolescence age group होती है between 10 to 19 years. Between 10 to 19 years, we say that this person is an adolescent, right? So adolescence age group is between 10 to 19, and इसको we divide it into early, mid and late adolescence. Early, mid and late adolescence. So to easy way to remember, please remember the mid one, so other two you will be easily able to remember. So mid one is between 14 to 16 years. So 14 से 16 साल के बच्चे एडोलेसेंस, मिड एडोलेसेंस में कहलाते हैं, राइट? इससे पहले मीन्स 10 to 13 years is early adolescence and 17 to 19 years is late adolescence. So early adolescence is between 10 to 13 years, mid is between 14 to 16 years and late between 17 to 19 years. 10 to 19 years के बीच में adolescence age group होता है, जिसको हमने 3 parts में divide किया है, early, mid and late. If we talk about puberty, so puberty occurs in the first half of adolescence age group. So usually, वैसे तो गर्ल्स में 8 पे और बॉयज़ में 9 पे स्टार्ट होती है, बट यूजुअली फर्स्ट हाफ ऑफ द एडोलेसेंट पीरियड, फर्स्ट हाफ ऑफ adolescent period या adolescence is marked by puberty. It is marked by puberty. Puberty is physical aspects of adolescence. Physical aspect of transition from childhood to adulthood is known as puberty. So we will read about puberty in detail because puberty से ही question आते हैं mostly. If we talk about puberty, so we have to talk separately about girls as well as boys. About girls and about boys. So girls में please remember a mnemonic TPM. You just remember this mnemonic TPM, teachers parent meeting होती है ना, teachers parent meeting or TPM. Remember this mnemonic. I'll tell the interpretation of it later. So girls में the start of the puberty, the beginning of the puberty is marked by thelarche. There's a term known as thelarche. The term is known as thelarche. So what is thelarche? Thelarche is nothing. It is nothing but development of breast. Thelarche is development of breasts. So this is the first sign of puberty in girls. They will ask the question, what is the first sign of puberty in girls? It is thelarche. First sign of puberty in girls. What is the first sign of puberty in girls? It is thelarche, the development of breasts. The development of breast or the thelarche is the first part. So this occurs usually starts between the age of 8 to 13 years. Between the age of 8 to 13 years. So one point you have to remember that when the breasts are getting developed during thelarche, the breast of a girl can be tender. So tenderness is normal, tender, they can be tender, and there could be a little asymmetry. So it is possible that one breast is more developed than the other, but ultimately they will be symmetrical. But during this phase, during the development, during thelarche, you can find a little asymmetry between breasts. So the breast can be tender and they can be asymmetric. The second part is after thelarche come pubarche. Pubarche. Right? What is pubarche? Pubarche is development of pubic hairs. Right? So appearance of pubic hairs. Appearance of pubic hairs. Appearance of pubic hairs is known as pubarche. Pubarche is appearance of pubic hairs. So it is the second stage. The third stage is and the final stage is menarche. Menarche. Ultimately, the girl is going to experience her first menses. The menarche. The start of menstruation. So menstruation. Right? Menstruation usually occurs, menarche usually comes, please remember this point, 2 to 2.5 years after thelarche. So when the breast development starts, from there till the appearance of first menses in the girl, it takes usually 2 to 2.5 years after thelarche. Okay. Now, if we talk about boys, what is the earliest sign of puberty in boys? So, the earliest sign of puberty in boys is increase in testicular size. Please remember the earliest sign in girls is thelarche or the development of breasts. It is in boys increase in testicular size. Increase in testicular size is the earliest sign of puberty in boys. Please remember. The first sign of puberty in girls is thelarche. In boys, it is increase in testicular size. So, increase in testicular size may volume, we will measure volume as well as length. So, volume will become more than 4 ml. More than 4 ml, whereas the length will become more than 2.5 centimeter. Right? And it comes the first sign, the increase in the testicular size. You can see, when you can see this change, you can see 9 to 14 years. 9 to 14 years. So here you saw that the first sign was appearing at the age between 8 to 13 years. Whereas in boys, it is occurring between 9 to 14 years. So it means in girls, puberty comes before, it comes earlier than it comes in boys. Right? What is the second after this? After this comes, after increase in testicular size come growth of pubic hairs. Growth of pubic hairs as well as axillary hair. Then finally there is lengthening of penis. So lengthening of penis. So this is the sequence in males. If we talk about spermarchy means production of sperm. I mean when the fertility comes in a boy, it comes. So spermarchy, if we talk about spermarchy or production of sperm, this is nothing but production of sperms. Production of sperms. So it comes in mid-adolescence. It comes in mid-adolescence. Mid-adolescence, you can say between 14 to 16 years. Mid-adolescence or between 14 to 16 years. 14 to 16 years. If we talk about peak growth velocity, so the mnemonic I told you, mnemonic in girls, TPM is nothing but thelarche, P for pubarche, and M for menarche. Here you can remember one more P, peak growth velocity. Peak growth velocity. So during entire chapter of growth, we have learned that the first spurt of the growth occurs during infancy and early childhood. The second spurt of the growth occur during puberty. So now, when does this occur in females? In females, it occurs just before menarche. So the peak growth velocity in girls is found just before the start of menarche, just before menarche. Please remember this point. And there is a staging, Tanner stage, Tanner SMR staging. We will talk about this in a separate lecture. Ye detail staging we'll talk about in a separate lecture. It is also very important topic. So Tanner SMR is stage 3. Stage 3. In girls, peak growth velocity is present between pubarche and menarche. Pubarche and menarche, you can say, yeah, more precisely, just before menarche, okay? Or in Tanner's stage 3, Tanner's SMR stage 3. What about boys? In boys, it occurs later stage of SMR. In boys, it occurs in later stages of SMR. Later stages of SMR, say stage 4 and 5. So in girls, it comes peak growth velocity is present during stage 3, whereas in boys, it is present between age 4 to age 5. Now we know that during peak growth velocity, a lot of bone is getting laid down, right? Because of sex steroid, under the influence of sex steroids, what they do, they help in a lot of bone formation. Lot of bone formation is occurring. I am just going to talk about calcium and iron in this slide because that is very crucial thing. ठीक है, वो बहुत important भी है आपके common practice, common public health के point of view से and from your exam point of view से भी it is very important. So sex steroid, because sex steroids has increased in quantity inside the body, so a lot of bone formation is occurring, so calcium and vitamin D requirement is also increased. If we talk about calcium, so an adolescent girl or boy need 800 mg per day of calcium. Please remember, agar Indian cereal based diet, they are taking Indian cereal based diet, so they need to take at least half a liter of extra milk for this. At least half a liter of extra milk for that, and if it is not possible, then it is our responsibility that such adolescents should be supplemented with the calcium tablets, right? If we talk about vitamin D requirement is 600 international unit per day, and this also must be supplemented because we have already read this. I have taken the lecture of rickets. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. That because the main dietary source of vitamin D is fish and fish liver oils, which we don't consume much, we Indians, and predominant living is now indoors. we don't go out much, so the vitamin D requirement cannot be fulfilled. So vitamin D also should be supplemented. It must be supplemented 600 international unit of vitamin D per day. What about iron? If we talk about iron, so a lot of muscle mass is also forming, right? Muscle mass during this growth, pubertal growth spurt, a lot of muscle mass is also being formed, as well as blood, because the amount of blood will increase in proportion to the size of the body. So as the body is growing, rapid growth, because of rapid growth, a lot of blood content is also increasing inside the body. So iron, we need at least 25 to 30 milligram per day. In adolescents, the iron, calcium and vitamin D requirement is like this, and they also require a lot of calorie and protein as well, so that should also be met. I hope this short lecture was useful for you, as it contained a lot of high yield points. Almost every single point has been asked in NEET PG. I haven't told a single useless point in this lecture, right? It was quite high yield points, information based, so you have to mug it up, you have to remember it. So please watch multiple times. Thank you.